Hello, this is Schedulytics. Welcome to today's session. In part 3 of the art of interpreting or presenting analyzed data, we'll be looking at the effective ways of presenting our table. Now, the table has 4 main components that make it suitable. 1, the title, 2, the column and rows, 3, the footnotes, and 4, the body of the table. Now, if you watch this video to the very end, you will be able to know 2 of these 4 main components. Now, tables are usually suitable or useful in highlighting precise numerical values. And tables summarize large amounts of related data clearly, and then also allows for comparison to be made among groups of variables. So if you intend to achieve any of these 2 main objectives, then the best is to present it in the form of a table. Now, generally, our table should be well structured and it should be self-explanatory. Now, what makes a table self-explanatory? The 4 key things. 1, the title. 2, the column and rows. 3, the footnotes. And then 4, the body of the table. Now, let's take the first one, title. What makes a good title? A title should be brief, and it should also be related clearly to the content of the table. Now, words in the title should represent and summarize the variables used in the column and the rows, rather than just repeating the columns and the row titles. So let's consider an example where you are presenting a table that includes parameters of the total blood count or full blood counts. Now, it is more appropriate to present it as comparing full blood count results among different races, instead of comparing hemoglobin, platelet counts, and total white cell counts among Malays, Chinese, and Indians. Now, you realize that hemoglobin, platelet counts, and total white cell counts are components of full blood count. And so it makes sense to summarize it by saying comparing full blood count results among different races. So that is how we want to always present our title clearly and brief to the point. The next thing that characterizes a good table is column and rows. Now, we need to know what goes into the column, and we also need to know what goes into the row. So basically, columns are vertically listed data, whilst the rows are horizontally listed data. Often, the column are where we present dependent variables because it allows for clear comparison among groups. So when we look at, we'll be making reference to 2 tables, table 1A and then table 1B. So these are the tables. Now, carefully take a look at these 2 tables as we do a juxtaposition of these tables in the column and row section. So now you realize that table 1B shows a better comparison of the dependent variables among the ethnicity compared to table 1. So why are we saying this? Because when you look at the table, the first column to the left is usually a list of the independent variable here in the race, Malaysia or Mali, Chinese, India, and others. So when you look at the table, you realize that in table A, the column rather has the independent variables. But from what we are learning, the independent variables should be on the row. And so table B is a better representation of the table, where we have the independent variables rather coming here and the dependent variables coming at the top. So that is how we want to present our data in a table form, because this allows a better comparison among the groups. Now, another thing we also need to note is that situations will come where our tables will have too many dependent variables, and hence our table will be too wide. In such situations, what should we do? Two advice is given. First, we can list the dependent variables in the first left column and then the independent variables across the top. However, caution should be taken so as to not to compromise the clarity of the message one wants to put across. So in that case, what we'll do is that we'll present this one here rather, and make sure that our interpretations are done in a way to convey the message clearly. Another alternative that we want to employ is to cut down unnecessary columns, which can be replaced with footnotes, and then we explain these footnotes at the base. So some of the unnecessary columns that we can cut are p-values, student t-test, chi-square values. So we can use footnotes to represent this instead of creating columns for them, so as to help bring down the length or the width of our table where we have many dependent variables. When we apply this, we realize that our tables will be well presented and will have a nice audience to read it. So basically, we need to keep our titles brief, related to the topic. We also want to present our dependent variables in columns rather than in rows. And in situations where our dependent variables are many, we want to list them as from the first left column, and then the independent variables across the top. Or we cut down on unnecessary columns and replace them with footnotes that we would explain at the base. Thank you for watching. In our next video, part 4 of this series, we will look at footnotes and then the body of the table. We encourage you to like the video, we encourage you to share the video, and we encourage you, most importantly, to subscribe to the channel so that any video that we release, you will be beneficiary by you being notified. Thank you very much for watching. Until we meet again, it's a bye.